Oh, my Boyle and ghouls, sometimes the echoes of the past don't just whisper, they scream for a sequel. Click that subscribe button and ring the bell icon, or you might miss the chilling continuation of The Awakening of Echoes. Will our haunted hero shine, or will he be dimmed forever? The long shadows of the Overlook Hotel had always stretched far beyond its rubble, reaching out like cold fingers, searching for Danny Torrance's psyche. The boy who had once roamed its haunted halls was now a man, his hair thinning, his eyes a little too accustomed to the darkness. Danny had made a modest life, a whisper of normalcy, working at a hospice where his shine brought solace to the dying, a light in the shadow of death. He had spent decades dulling the edges of his childhood trauma with the burn of alcohol, now replaced by the numbness of routine. The ghosts, however, do not forget, nor do they forgive. Danny's quiet existence began to quiver, a tremor in the calm waters of his mind. There was a ripple in the shine, a disturbance that echoed through the corridors of his memories. Abra, a teenager with a shine brighter than the beam of a lighthouse, had emerged. She was a prodigy in the psychic world, and with such gifts came predators. The True Knot, a group of parasitic wanderers, sought the steam of those like Abra to feed their own cursed immortality. It was a darkness that knew no bounds, a ravenous void. The girl's plea for help was a siren's call that Danny could not ignore. The time for hiding in the folds of everyday life was over. He would mentor her, teach her the ways of the shine and how to close one's mind, how to fight, how to hide in plain sight. Together, they wove through the pitfalls set by the True Knot, a dangerous dance with death. With every narrow escape, the horrors of Danny's past clawed their way closer to the surface, threatening to drag him back to the Overlook's phantom-filled halls. It was during a night of deep meditation that Danny encountered the essence of his late mother, a warm presence that still managed to send a chill down his spine. Her spectral touch was a balm, but her words were a blade. There was a Judas amongst them. The betrayal stung deeper than the bitterest winter chill of the Colorado Rockies. It came from a trusted face, a colleague at the hospice who had bartered their souls for a taste of immortality. Facing this traitor, Danny was torn between the light of the shine and its darkest recesses, the parts that snaked back to the Overlook and its malevolent spirits. In that final confrontation at the hospice, it was not just a fight for survival, but a battle for Danny's very essence. And as the traitor lay defeated, Danny knew this was but a prelude to the war that awaited. The Overlook's remains called to him, a perverse pilgrimage to confront the head of the True Knot, Rose the Hat, a woman whose whimsy masked a monstrous nature. Danny's return to the place of his childhood horrors was a march into the gaping mouth of his fears, a decision that etched his fate into the annals of those hallowed hauntings. Rose awaited in the skeleton of the Overlook, her confidence as unyielding as the mountains surrounding them. The hotel, eager to feast again, breathed an unnatural life, its echoes stirring at the presence of their kin. The chase through the hotel was a grotesque mirror of Danny's childhood, run from madness. But this time, he was not alone. Abra stood by him, their shine intertwined. In the crescendo of their psychic duel, Danny embraced the sacrificial destiny that had been carved out for him from the moment he had first set foot in the Overlook. With the courage of a martyr, he turned the spectral inhabitants against Rose, a maelstrom of spirits that hungered for the corrupt steam she carried. The hotel itself seemed to scream in a convergence of the living and the dead, and as Danny's life force ebbed away, he ignited the destruction of the Overlook, a purifying inferno to consume the wickedness it had birthed. The final chapter of Danny Torrance was one written in self-sacrifice, a legacy that transcended the shine, ensuring that the darkness would no longer awaken echoes in the minds of those like Abra. The Overlook was no more, and with it, the True Knot's reign of terror was extinguished. Danny's last breath was a whisper of peace, a lullaby for the restless spirits, including his own, now finally free to rest. And as the Overlook crumbled, so did our ghastly group's hopes of immortality. What a burning desire to live forever, only to be snuffed out by a torrent of fire.
Dark Diaries.
In the quaint, seemingly tranquil town of Derry, Maine, something unholy had begun to stir. The year was 1986, and an abandoned carnival on the outskirts of town, once vibrant and full of life, began to show signs of reawakening. The Carnival of Shadows, as the locals ominously referred to it, had been a place of wonder and delight back in its heyday. But a series of tragic accidents and strange occurrences had led to its closure, and it had remained untouched for decades, until now. Emily Dalton, a woman in her early 40s with a penchant for mystery and a past steeped in folklore, had recently returned to her hometown of Derry. She had spent years away, trying to escape the shadows of her past, but the death of her father had called her back. Upon hearing whispers of the carnival's reopening, something within her flickered, a mixture of nostalgia and an inexplicable sense of dread. The town was riddled with rumors and dark tales about the carnival, stories that Emily had grown up listening to. They spoke of ghostly apparitions, of rides that operated on their own, and of visitors who entered the carnival, never to be seen again. These tales had fascinated Emily as a child, but as she stood at the entrance of the now bustling carnival, something felt terribly wrong. Despite her reservations, Emily's curiosity got the better of her, and she found herself drawn into the heart of the carnival. The air was filled with the sounds of laughter and carnival music, but underneath it all, there was a faint whisper, a melody that seemed to speak directly to her soul. As she ventured deeper, the attractions began to reveal their true nature. The Hall of Mirrors distorted not just her reflection, but her very sense of reality. The shadows danced and twisted around her, whispering secrets of the past, secrets that Emily had long buried. The ghostly figure of a young girl appeared, her eyes filled with sorrow and longing, and Emily realized she knew her. She was a childhood friend who had vanished on a fateful night at the carnival. The realization hit her like a cold gust of wind, sending chills down her spine. The Carnival of Shadows was a realm between worlds, feeding off the fears and unresolved grief of its visitors. Emily understood that she needed to leave, but the shadows had other plans. They clung to her, pulling her towards the center of the carnival, towards the source of the nightmare. With every step, Emily's past unfolded, revealing wounds she thought had healed. The shadows fed off her guilt and sorrow, growing stronger, more insistent. They showed her visions of her father, his face twisted in pain, accusing her of abandoning him. Emily felt her resolve weakening, but a spark of anger ignited within her. Anger at the carnival for bringing these horrors to life, and anger at herself for letting the past haunt her. Gathering her strength, Emily fought back, tearing herself away from the shadow's grasp. She stumbled out of the carnival, the sounds of laughter and music now distant echoes. As the first light of dawn broke, the Carnival of Shadows vanished, leaving behind an empty field as if it had never existed. Emily, though exhausted and shaken, felt a weight lifted off her shoulders. She had confronted her past, faced her darkest fears, and emerged victorious. The shadows that had lingered in her heart had dissipated, and she knew she was finally free. Back in her father's house, she found an old photo album filled with pictures of her childhood, of her and the young girl, laughing and smiling, a stark contrast to the sorrowful ghost she had encountered. With a sense of closure, Emily realized that she had been given a chance to say goodbye, not just to her childhood friend, but to the shadows of her past. The town of Derry, oblivious to the night's events, continued its peaceful existence, unaware that the Carnival of Shadows had claimed its final visitor. And Emily, with a newfound sense of peace, decided to stay in Derry, her home, ready to live a life free from the shadows. And as the final page of this strange chapter in Derry's history turned, the whispers of the Carnival of Shadows faded away, becoming nothing more than a tale to be told on dark, stormy nights, a macabre reminder of the thin line between the seen and the unseen, the living and the dead.
Dark Diaries.
You're about to watch The Silent Scream, a story where the echoes of the past are louder than you can imagine. Emily Thompson, a resilient woman in her late 30s, and her teenage son Jack had found a quiet refuge in their small suburban home in Maine. The neighborhood, once peaceful, now held an air of tension as shadows seemed to flicker at the edge of vision and whispers of the unknown echoed through the streets. Emily, with her heart still heavy from the loss of her husband, had hoped this move would bring a sense of normalcy to their lives. But as objects started to shift and an eerie feeling settled in their home, she realized that they had walked into a world far from normal. She tried to brush it off, attributing the disturbances to her overactive imagination. But Jack, with the curiosity of youth and an adventurous spirit, was not so easily swayed. He had heard rumors of the old asylum that once stood where their house now resided, tales of patients subjected to cruel experiments and tormented souls that never found peace. As the disturbances grew, so did the fear that gripped the neighborhood. Emily watched as friends turned on each other, accusations flying as they sought someone to blame. But deep down, she knew that the answer was not in the present, but buried in the past. Emily delved into the history of the asylum, uncovering stories that sent chills down her spine. The tale of Sarah, a patient whose silent screams were said to haunt the halls, resonated with her. Emily felt a connection, a shared pain, and she knew that she had to find a way to help Sarah find peace. She reached out to Dr. Jonathan Fields, a paranormal expert with a reputation shrouded in mystery. Fields, initially skeptical, agreed to help when he witnessed the entity's power firsthand. During their research, Emily discovered that every year, on the anniversary of Sarah's untimely death, a living soul was said to be taken by her restless spirit, as if to relive her own tragic end. This year, that date was imminent, and to Emily's horror, Jack, her son, became the target. He began to act distant, his eyes hollow, and his once adventurous spirit suppressed. As the date approached, Jack was inexplicably drawn to the remnants of the old asylum's underground chambers, situated beneath their home. Fields, Emily, and a small group of trusted neighbors formulated a plan to save Jack from the clutches of Sarah's spirit. In a high-stakes climax, they ventured into the dark, forgotten chambers of the asylum, confronting chilling echoes of its tormented past. Guided by the bond of a mother's love, Emily reached Jack, who was in a trance-like state, standing at the edge of a dilapidated well, the very spot Sarah had met her tragic end. With the entity's power intensifying, trying to pull Jack into the abyss, Emily, channeling her own pain and grief over the loss of her husband, appealed to Sarah's spirit. Their shared agony created a bridge, allowing Sarah to finally understand the pain she was inflicting on others. In a heart-wrenching moment of shared understanding, Sarah's spirit released Jack, sparing him from her tragic fate. The entity, once fueled by years of torment, found solace in Emily's empathy and faded into the ether, freeing the neighborhood from its grip. The neighborhood, once teetering on the edge of destruction, began its journey to healing. Emily, having saved her son and faced her own silent screams, emerged as a beacon of hope. The streets, once shadowed by the past, now held promise for the future. But one question lingered. Had they truly freed Sarah, or had they simply appeased her for the moment? Only time would tell. But with her son safe and by her side, Emily was ready for any challenge. As Emily's love quelled a spirit scream, not all is as it seems. What haunts you might just need a heartfelt beam. Leave us a comment on how you would soothe a tormented soul. And don't forget, in our crypt of stories, empathy always plays the leading role. Fright fans, click next for more chills and hit subscribe to join our ghastly gang. You see, who dares to miss out, so watch our next video.